I'm Micah.
And I'm Diana.
And we have a few things to discuss.
So another special episode. This is going to be part 2 of a 2-part series, just sharing about the Breaker mission and about Micah's story. So if you have not seen part 1, please go back and watch part 1 first, so that you'll just understand and have context of what we're sharing in this episode.
Yes. So we navigated through all of that. So we
got through that.
and I always talk about like you're in the swamps for quite a while, and now what we're going to do is we're going to get to dry land.
Yes.
And take a step out of those swamps.
We were down in the valley.
Yes.
Now we're coming up. We're to the mountain. Yeah. But it was really important to be able to share that, and for people to actually understand the weight, the gravity, the heaviness of this story, of your story. Your testimony is one that really, I think, can help people see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is actually hope, and there is breakthrough possible when you've gone through horrific things in childhood that have really caused a lot of harm and a lot of damage. So on today's episode, we are going to be talking about how the Lord navigated you over those years through a healing journey after sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. It was spiritual abuse. Yeah. There was a lot of emotional and mental abuse as well. So you had all of that bundled up into this young man. And as you shared in the last episode, it was about age 15 that the abuse stopped. And so I'd like to kind of pick up from there. We know already that you were struggling a lot with depression. There was some suicidal thoughts. There was anxiety. There was those type of things that were going around. And because you also had a spiritual level of abuse, you were running away from the Lord too, wondering, why did he not protect you? So I would love for you to pick up from around that time and just navigate us through. In the book, we refer to them as your lifelines of what the Lord did in your life, who he brought along, and what ways that helped you kind of move from there to the man that you are today.
15, the abuse had stopped. I started manifesting this anxiety, this depression, the very dark thoughts start happening. I feel like I'm not in control of anything that's going on internally. The outside, I'm still playing sports. I'm still hanging out with friends. I still have a smile on my face. I'd created disassociation, which is essentially created an alternate reality of what was going on to protect me, that my life was great, that I had not gone through anything bad, the thought of anyone knowing. So that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. Every single day, I'm thinking about how I'm going to make it, the drowning feeling. And around the age of 17, my mother and I were just butting heads a lot. Home life was not great at that point. And she was also going through some other health issues. I honestly didn't know what I was going to do. And I wasn't walking the way that I needed to with the Lord either. But God sent me a lifeline in the form of a family. One of my best friends at that time, his family was just an amazing, beautiful family. I spent a lot of time at that house, and Bill and Patty was her name, and her husband Tom. They had a whole family, beautiful family. And so I spent as much time as they would allow me to spend there. And it was a safe place. It was a place that there was faith in. If they had disagreements, how they disagreed, I just had never seen anything like that. It was a family, and it was love. Foundationally, it was built on love and respect for one another. And so around the age of 18, I'm really struggling. I have nowhere to go at this point. And Patty, there's no way she knows what I went through, but she knew that I needed them. Mm-hmm. And she asked me to come and move in with them if I would like to stay with them. And I don't know how she knew. I don't know if God like put something on her and gave her conviction, gave her some sort of vision, something. But what that family did for me, like, it's part of the story I always get emotional on. I just don't know if I would have been able to make it at that point without them. They didn't have to do that. But I felt loved. I felt loved. And I got to see a family that did it right. And so I was excited when I got to mow the lawn. I was excited when I got to do some cleanups and some chores around the house. And I even got in trouble one time. And the way that she kind of disciplined me was really amazing too. And I deserved it. I deserved it. I didn't get home on time. I was out and didn't get home on time. I wasn't doing anything bad, but I didn't get home on time. And so that lifeline was so important because it changed the whole trajectory of my life. At that point. I didn't know if I was going to go to college. I had no ability to get scholarships or anything like that. We didn't have any money. And so I really didn't have a lot of direction. And just being in that family and being in a place that I felt secure gave me direction. And so that love and that willingness to just take me in at that particular time, such a pivotal time in my life, was paramount for me to even be right here in this situation, being able to share the story.
Yeah.
And it was a lifeline. I do believe it was a lifeline that God gave me.
Well, how he placed them in your life, and they didn't even know your full story. They just knew that they just saw something that was hurting in you. I think Patty especially, and they opened their home to you, and they opened their hearts to you, and what a powerful thing. And I think they created a safe environment for you, which I think was the first time that you'd ever really experienced like a home that was actually safe. So it helped with just kind of rewiring your brain and helping you think that maybe there's something more in this life and possible.
We had a lot of instability growing up. We moved a lot and it was unstable. There were pockets that were really good or felt more safe. There were pockets that weren't. And so when I was in this home, it was what I had always dreamed of.
Yeah.
Of a husband and a wife and a family and being loved and even disciplined, like the things that I was really actually yearning for, and direction. And so for them to open their heart up in their house like that, it was one of the most important things that ever happened to me in my life.
Yeah. So you got that sense of safety, that sense of family, that was something new for you. And then move us forward into what was you consider your next lifeline.
I follow Bill to college. And from there, I'm still struggling with anxiety and depression. So that still is there. Even though I was in a safe home, I still was covering that. And I still had a lot of stuff going on mentally that I was like, I just had no control. So I got to drive. There's all those things that I still had to have control over. A couple weeks into starting my freshman year in college, I found the gym. And at the time, I'm thinking a couple different things. I'm thinking like, if I get jacked, girls are going to like me. I want to look like Van Damme because he just always won in the end. And, the guys I looked up to, I wanted to be on covers of I used to read the Muscle and Fitness and Iron Man magazines, and I wanted to look like those guys. But what I didn't realize, and the more important and powerful part of all of it, and God knew this as the lifeline that he gave me in the form of dumbbells and chicken breast. And we always kind of laugh and giggle about that. But all these years later and all the time that we've spent helping transform other people's lives and navigating that lifestyle, we now have all the research that it's actually legitimate science.
Yeah.
Working out is literally one of the most important things that you can do if you have anxiety and depression. And living that lifestyle, that structured, scheduled lifestyle of eating right and working out, specifically with working out, and what it was doing to my mind. I had no idea at 18. I didn't really know. I just knew that when I was working out, I felt better mentally. And so I start seeing my anxiety drop. I start seeing my depression get lower. I started feeling like there was purpose. I started looking in the mirror and I saw changes, but I started seeing my old self back a little bit. And so I'm like, man, I am never going to stop this. And I haven't, and that was nearly 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
And so God gave me a lifeline and essentially a tool that I would be able to use to not only transform my own life, but thousands and thousands and thousands of other people's lives too, with what we get to do daily.
Yeah. And like you said, when you were doing that, and you've shared like the panic attacks stopped when you started getting into that lifestyle, and the anxiety and the depression, like those things really diminished. And then now, like fast forward decades later, and there's always been so much like a lot of research showing how important exercise is for our mental health, but like some of the newer studies showing that exercise and like strength training, because of what's released into our bodies from muscle contraction, that actually the myokines that are actually serve as an antidepressant that goes up and into your brain, that can actually go into your brain. So it's like 1.5 times more effective than a lot of anxiety medications is actually working out. And that study
with no side effects except for like being sore. And I always tell people, like, the gym is one of the only places that you can go to and inflict pain on yourself, but it's a positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and then we always joke about chicken. People are like, what is Micah? He eats chicken. But that we also now know how important the nutrition is for the healing of trauma too. And literally chicken, it's like there's science that chicken is and is one of the foods that, because of hormonally what your body does, and it actually helps like with anxiety and depression.
It still blows my mind.
It's science, like, people.
My desire at that particular point was one thing of, what probably a lot of 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids are thinking at that particular point.
Yeah.
But God was like, we're going to use this to be able to get you to, it didn't fully heal me. I want people to understand that, like, it's a tool.
It's a tool.
It's a tool to really help balance things out.
Yeah.
Instead of turning to drugs and alcohol and that sort of stuff, I was going to the gym.
Yeah.
I was working out. I was being active. I was doing things that was keeping me, because of that lifestyle too. And I always talk about this, and I didn't understand this about, is like with PTSD, past traumas, everything else, they also connect a very structured, disciplined schedule is very good for people that have gone through that. Well, there's not much more discipline than like a bodybuilder lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at everything. And when we're eating, what we're eating, our workouts, our cardio, our sleep, like all of those things were very regimented. And some people go, oh, I don't want to have to do all that. What it was doing for me is it was saving my life.
Yeah.
And so it was so deeply rooted. It was in my DNA now of this lifeline that was saving my life.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking is, I didn't know how many people had gone through what I had gone through, but I was like, everyone should live this way because you feel awesome.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, that was a gigantic lifeline at that point.
Yeah. And this was still a period of time when, like, we talk about these tools, and there are wonderful tools that people can use that in the natural that really can get them to a place of pain tolerance and pain management. And we see that a lot, just even as we were looking into a lot of the books that we read that were around men who had gone through various different types of abuse. And like one thing we kept not finding in these books was a message of hope. We kept finding stories where it was like, here's all the things I went through. I did these things and I got to this point of pain tolerance and pain management, but I couldn't get any further. And so I'd like for you to share, like, we just touched a little bit on those first couple of lifelines that really helped you, just safety, having a safe space, having people that you could connect with, and community and family, whatever, and that can look a lot different. And then the pieces of the physical aspect of that, how that was helping your brain process things too and get to a healthier place without turning to addiction and alcohol and all those things. So what is the third lifeline, and that kind of came, what is that kind of came into your life?
It's my favorite lifeline. So I start working out 18, and I'm addicted to this lifestyle, like in a way, and I am like living it and whatnot. I get out of college. I have a full-time job that I didn't like. And I was like, I'm quitting this. I'd done 5 years of college. I did the 5-year plan, and I got done. I was making good money at this job that I was like, I can't wake up and do this all day. So I end up becoming a personal trainer. My family is like, what are you doing? You went from making all that money to $15 an hour at that time. And what I found was this deep passion for helping others. But while I was at that first gym I was working at, our good friend Dave came up to me and he said, you need to be a fitness model. And I said, what's a fitness model? I'm in Kansas City. Fitness modeling was not a thing here. And he goes, like the guys on covers of magazines. And I was like, I'm going to be a fitness model. And I ended up being a fitness model and got on covers of magazines nationally. I mean, I was so driven to do that. And so as I'm navigating the world of the fitness industry and doing magazine covers and TV shows and all of that, where I started seeing is I was, instead of going to drugs and alcohol and all of that, I was turning to accolades. Mm-hmm. And so accolades, I thought to myself, if I get on covers of magazines, this is how deeply rooted shame is. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking to myself, if I get on accolades and I get successful enough, even if all these guys find out, or these people find out, or these girls find out, at least I've done all of that. Mm-hmm. So at least I have this coat of armor with this muscle now, and so that's really how I was thinking. Yeah. And so it wasn't a good thing. My success came from a very painful place. My driver was because of the things I went through. Yeah. All these years later, I'm able to celebrate it in a different way. But during that period of time, it was like another hit. Mm-hmm. It was like I get on a cover of a magazine, it was another hit. It was another hit. So during this transformation of going through becoming a fitness model and doing national work and whatnot, I end up connecting with you, which ended up being the third lifeline. And at the time, I didn't know it, but God did. And we would end up meeting, and at the Mr. Olympia in Vegas, we ended up meeting. Neither of us looking for a relationship or anything like that, but it was very clear to me that you were my person and I knew who you were from. Even though I was not walking right, I just felt it. And, you said something to me about 24 hours after meeting, which you could probably tell that side of the story, and then I can jump back in. What did you say to me 24 hours after meeting?
Well, I had just started turning my eyes back to the Lord too, after running away from him for 10 years, and it had become very clear to me that I would never date someone that didn't already have a relationship with Jesus. And so that had to be foundational for me. And so when I met you and I knew that I liked you, and that, we felt like we were best friends, really out the gate, I knew I had to ask the question, even though it's like Las Vegas and, we're at the Olympia and it's this big fitness show. But I asked you if you knew Jesus, if you knew him as your savior. And your answer was yes, but you told me then that you were angry at God, and I didn't know why you were angry. I remember just kind of leaving that be because it felt like there was something deeper there, and just thanking you for sharing.
And I was angry. Mm-hmm. I was angry at God for what I had gone through and felt like he didn't protect me. Mm-hmm. And even my relationship at that point, I kind of viewed God as this protector. If I was a good kid, then I was going to be protected. And so not getting protected, I was either a really bad kid and I didn't realize it, or he just didn't love me and wasn't protecting me.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like it was the latter. And so that's kind of why I pulled away. Like, why would he allow such horrific abuse? Why would he allow that? And that's questions that I had. Why did you allow me to go through stuff like that? So when you came into my life and you asked that question, you were the first woman that ever asked that question to me. I wasn't following in his path in any sort of capacity. Like, he was there. He was always kind of in my mind a little bit. I kind of would get conviction every once in a while, but I just was like not walking right. And so I remember you saying that, and it hit me. And I was honest with you, and I said, I'm hurting and whatnot. And long story short, fast forwarding it, we would end up, officially being a couple. And, I ended up doing something that was extremely rare. Still to this day, like, looking back at it, you had asked me that 24 hours later, and then the next day I actually shared with you what I had gone through, which is extremely rare. But for whatever reason, I just knew who you were, and I really trusted you in a way. And I had only told 2 or 3 people. My best friends didn't know. Bill didn't know. No one knew. My mom, and, no one knew. And so that really... that lifeline that he gave to me in you ended up helping me turn my eyes and my heart back to the Lord. So the spiritual trauma, I was able to actually go back in and get the healing necessary for that, aligning, knowing I needed to be everything that I could be in our home to cover you, to be the leader of the home. And it required me to make a real relationship with Christ, not just going to church and doing the Sunday deal, a real relationship with him. And then later on, obviously, the healing.
Yeah. And it really was a journey. Like, it wasn't like we got together and then we were just like we both still had a lot of growing in the Lord to do. And it was over the course of years, and then finding our church home, and then just really leaning into understanding what a relationship with him looked like. And then also just kind of sorting through those questions and those things that you had, and of, why did this happen to me? But understanding that I heard at Freedom Academy with Carrie Garcia just recently, one of the things that she was talking about was how, like, we are all given free will. And she's like, when it comes to people that are choosing to harm other people, and she's like, how she described it was like Jesus was screaming at them to stop it. He was screaming at them to stop, and they kept doing it. And so it's like he grieves that too. And I think that was one thing of, like, understanding. It's like, that was a man that was claiming relationship with the Lord, whether that's, I don't know that that's true or not, if he ever did, but he was listening to some voice. But the Lord has given us the free will to, like, make choices. Yeah. And so when people choose to harm others, so that was kind of one of the things I think was, like, sorting through, like, is God good? Because that's what a lot of people question. And when just getting to know him, know Jesus, and have that relationship, and knowing how good and how loving he is, and how he desires that relationship with us, but he also gives us free will. And that free will allows us to turn and run from him, and to, listen to the enemy too.
I had to navigate through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to gloss that over. I had to navigate. I had a lot of questions, those questions that I asked before. Mm-hmm. It's like, why would you allow this?
Yeah.
Why would you let a little boy get hurt that way?
Yeah.
I was praying and telling you that I loved you. Why weren't you protecting mm-hmm. me? All of those questions that you question yourself. And how many people lose their relationship with God after that point because of not something he did,
yeah.
but something someone did that was evil, sometimes using his name to do it.
Yeah.
And so, that was brutal.
Yeah.
But I knew, and I started seeing that like that foundation was extremely important. And so having that foundation being what I committed to you, and us being as one as a covenant, and trying to glorify him through our own marriage, required me to take the necessary steps to get the healing necessary in the relationship right with him. And that took getting into the word. That took a really amazing pastor in Pastor Jason, like really diving and teaching certain things that I didn't understand, but now I can use when I'm talking to another man, or we could use within the book or whatnot. And so, I just remember thinking to myself at that time, like, man, how am I going to navigate through this, Lord? But I started just talking, and I remember getting down on my knees and thinking and saying, just reveal yourself to me. Show me. Yeah. Like, please, I got to see it. And slowly but surely, he started doing just that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful story, and there's, so many elements of it. And, we kind of, writing your story and kind of being able to give voice to your story was so just kind of has made it part of the story is mine too, because where our lives intersect, there's so much of the story of the healing journey that happens after that. But we're not going to give the whole book away. We would encourage you all to go buy a copy of it so that you can read the whole thing. But having just had just kind of like seat next to you through the whole thing, it really is. There's so many layers, and there's so many, like things that people might get stuck on, that it's like, let's talk about that. Like, let's go there. Like, and I feel like with the Breaker Mission, that's what it is. It's like, let's have conversations about this, like the hard stuff. Like, let's have conversations. Let's invite the Lord in just so that he can help us understand, or in what he needs us to see in different things. But let's not run away, and let's not shy away. Let's dig in and talk about the hard stuff, and talk about how we got there. And I feel like that's what we do a lot in the Breaker.
When I go out in public now, I do something because I know so much more about what I know with this specific abuse. I'm at the gym, I'm at church, I'm at the grocery store, and I start just counting in my head. And I start looking around and seeing the different men that are in the location that I'm at. And I'm going, more than likely 1 in 4, 1 in 5, 25%, and probably this entire room has gone what I've gone through. And more than likely, maybe none of them have actually shared. And they're dealing with that same silent struggle that I was dealing with, trying to figure out how to make it. Have they turned to some sort of addiction already? Are they living in pain? Have they created disassociation? Whatever it may be, is their relationship broken because of something that happened to them when they were a kid? Can they not be everything they need to be for their kid? And hurt people end up hurting people in one way or another. But when you get on the other side of it, free people have the opportunity to free people. Because again, you're most perfectly positioned to help someone that you once were. But I can only help someone if I got to the in place, which was the level of freedom. I knew that I never wanted to step in front of a man and sit there with him and not be able to not take the entire journey with him, but understand the entire journey on what was required to get there. And so for that to happen, I had to get to full freedom. It doesn't mean that our scars still remain. Like, that is a part of who we are. But it no longer has its grip on me. It no longer controls me. It's something that I can publicly speak about and help lift other men up.
Yeah, and I think that's really is the message of the book, is like it goes beyond pain tolerance and pain management. It can go to a level of freedom, but the breaking through is possible because of a relationship with Jesus.
Yes.
That's how you can get to that other side, and that's when you're tackling things like forgiveness, and which is just a whole nother can of worms that we'll tackle later. But that's where you can actually step into the freedom of the life that you're living now, which it's a part of you, but it is, like you said, you still have the scars, but to be able to truly like walk in freedom because of that relationship with Jesus and how he has set you free. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. And I see that in your life. I've seen the chains fall off of you over the years. And just to be able to now have that voice of, hey, there is hope for this. And there is hope beyond what the world has for tools. There is hope in Jesus. And so as we wrap up this episode, I would say that's just the one takeaway I want people to understand, is that the Breaker Mission is a mission of hope. There is hope, and there is freedom available from these things. And thank you for sharing some of the things, the steps that have worked for you. And it's not, the message here isn't do exactly these things, because everybody's journey is going to look a little bit different. So that's not the message. It's more, these are things that you used, and we would love to offer those out for people to use in whatever order, whatever way that looks. But that biggest tool for you, that we don't call it a tool, the biggest key for you was that relationship with Jesus that helped you to break through.
It was. And I just encourage anyone who either went through it themselves and still living in struggle, or knows someone, a brother, a husband, a dad, someone who has gone through it. I encourage you to get and read the book. Mm-hmm. Get it as a gift for them or whatnot. You can get it on the breakermission.com or Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's everywhere. But I have not seen a book on the market that portrays it the way that this book does. Mm-hmm. There's the memoir side, but there's also the deep healing side of things. And we got experts to come in as well. And it's just, I just believe it's a tool that someone can use to be able to take those first steps.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you guys for tuning in. Please, just if you would like a copy of the Breaker book, you can get it, as Micah said, on the breakermission.com or Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's available on all of the major outlets too. We would love you to grab a copy. We would love your support for the mission. We believe that it is a book that is going to help a lot of men with their healing, but also women. So this is not just a book for men. This is a book for women too, women maybe who have gone through things or have men in your life that you want to help them heal too. So we thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like the show, share the show. Please, these episodes about Micah's story, if you know someone that they will help, that they will impact, please share these episodes with them, and leave your comments, send us your feedback, and let us know how we can be praying for you. Let us know how we can be helping you, and just let us know your feedback on the show. But we thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time on A Few Things.